Hello, it's Scott Manley here with a special report from Games Developer Conference 2014. All of the top people from the games business are in town right now, so I managed to sit down with one of my legitimate childhood heroes, David Braben, the creator of Elite, its sequels, and of course CEO of Frontier Developments, who are behind Elite Dangerous. I got to sit down and ask him all sorts of questions and behave like a complete fanboy. I also got to play the game using the Oculus Rift, and one of the nicest joysticks I've ever had the pleasure of using. Unfortunately, through all of this, I didn't really keep tabs on my video, so the quality is dubious at times. But it's really all about the answers that David's giving. There's some great information about the game and about his history in the gaming business. So without further ado, let's get down to business.
So I'm like, oh my god! Oh my god, this is me! This is David Braben, this is one of my childhood heroes. Who pretty much created Elite, and is, of course, Elite Dangerous is the next thing. Man, this is what have we got here? We have a
PC.
We have a PC.
Playing with the X52 Pro.
Ooh, this is very nice.
Yeah.
And
that's a lovely joystick.
It is a lovely joystick. Now, I was actually remarking on what really the ideal control system would be for a fully Newtonian combat system, because you really want to have 6 degrees of freedom on each hand.
You want the brain link.
You want the brain link. You want to have the drift alignment thing from Pacific Rim, right?
Oh yes, oh god.
Okay, so I guess this is the Oculus, and this is where I start to look a little geeky. Not that I... Wow. Oh my god, I love the way the menu is just like floating in front of me. And
so just before we go in, if you look forward what you feel is naturally forward, I can just do a quick alignment.
That's pretty much straightforward.
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay.
If you look around the cockpit, you'll see the interfaces come up as you look at them.
That is marvelous. And so I can control it here.
Yeah, that's right.
Contacts. Oh, no, that's my boost. Obviously. Where's the switch? Is that the switch? What's on this side? We've got...
Just be aware you're going forward, and there are a lot of...
Oh, asteroids, yes. I studied those. Okay. Where is this dude? I see him here. There we go. Weapons hot. That's a solar fluke. Ah, this is
change.
It's for a change, yes. What a fluke. Okay, let's get in close to this dude. What I'm really missing in this joystick is the controls for redistributing power.
No, it's on this hat here.
Yeah, I have to figure that out. I can't see where you're pointing.
Your right thumb, sorry. Near your right thumb.
Oh, near my right thumb.
So if you lift your thumb up...
Oh, there. Ah.
Down, no, down.
Down for...
Down, your other down, then...
there.
No!
There!
Hey!
Yay! Just in time for me to die.
Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. I'm gonna totally kill this dude. This is absolutely stunning on Oculus Rift. I really, the thing isn't even released, and it is garnering some amazing gameplay experiences. So, this is actually my first chance to play on it.
I've been amazed, actually, how many people have been playing it on Oculus Rift. It's something that we were asked to do. Nice job. And I think it's nearly 10% of people are playing on Oculus Rift.
Wow. I tell you what, the people, they are getting the best experience.
Do you want to do the next one?
We'll go to the next one.
The Recon Wing's the harder one, right?
Oh yeah.
We'll do the Sidewinder face-off first of all.
Okay. Ooh.
So I just selected it for you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So the second alpha phase was multiplayer. So in the Kickstarter, we actually had network multiplayer working fine, because that's relatively easy to do, compared to getting it working well on the internet. So with the alpha phase 2, we got servers here in the US, because that was because we wanted to make sure that it worked well. A lot of the players are in Europe, a lot of people here, but we even had someone playing from the Falkland Islands. So that.
What is the ping time to the Falklands?
I don't know, but it's not going to be quick. Is it? But the game does a lot of predictive things like that, which work, and trying to reduce the response time in the game.
Yeah. But I mean, you're not planning on different servers for different regions, right?
No,
everybody's going to be in the same universe.
In the same galaxy.
So is there going to be something to prevent, like, everybody going to the same system because that's where the action's happening?
No, but what we do is we instance the system.
Okay, so you won't have 10,000 people in the same zone at the same time. You'll have little clusters of...
Well, in a sense we will, and in a sense we won't. So if everyone, let's say we say, right, there's a famine here, or there's a gold rush here, and everyone piles in, then there will be multiple instances of that system. But that's not to say that the results of what those people do won't carry across everything. So, for example, if there's an uprising and everyone's weighing in on the side of the oppressed, then they will win, even though they're across different instances of the system.
That was awesome. I just smashed it.
This is going to be really weird for the people watching the video, because they can't see
what's happening. They can't see what I'm seeing, but I just smashed into the dude. Oh. But I feel that I got to take this off and at least address the camera a little longer. I mean, so, you're really going for server-side curated content. You're not looking at the EVE Online approach, where it's going to be largely player-driven conflicts. You're not going to have, like, B-R, 5BR, where it's $300,000 worth of internet spaceships destroyed.
Well, I think the other point is we're very much a sort of seat-of-the-pants game anyway. I mean, we're not executive control, so it feels different, and different things will work better. So I think we're very unlike EVE in that sense. But if you look at also the sort of things that we're doing,
I gotta get you one of these. Oh, but yeah, I mean, so it is. Obviously, you're going to get these comparisons to EVE, which is the big spaceship game, but you're going off in a different direction. I think also, you're really going in a different direction again from like Star Citizen as well.
That's right.
Which is,
well, the way I see it is the original Elite was never conceived, in my opinion, as a space game. That sounds like a really bizarre thing to say, but both Ian and I were a bit sick of games at the time because they were all sort of 10-minute playtime, or
right.
Driven by the coin drop, basically.
Yeah, you did this great talk at GDC 2011 where you lead off with this whole thing, and I urge everyone to watch it. It is really good.
Well, that's essentially what I mean. And the point is that we wanted freedom. I wanted to be free in the game, and I see Elite as an open world game. In open world, in the sense that you can do what you like, you can go what you like, where you like. You don't have to, get to the next cutscene. You don't have to choose the fact you're an elf from a list,
right?
Which always feels a bit weird. That then constrains what you can do. It's the freedom. And at the time, the reason we chose space was actually because it's easier to render.
Right. That's right. All the early games are in space.
That's right. And so I think. And something else that I've said as well. I mean, the guys who did GTA, Gary Penn, said, it's Elite in a city.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see it. That's the sort of natural succession. So when people talk about other space games, there are different types of game that happen to be set in space. Now, bizarrely, people don't say, Dead Space is a space game, because by a different measure it is.
But it's on rails.
Indeed, but it's in space. And the point is, they're each different in their way. As I understand it, Star Citizen's telling a story, for example. That EVE is an executive control game, very, very different,
yes.
More of a strategy game. So we're each different niches, if you like, and I think they're all great, and I want to play them all, but at different times. It's
yes, there is this strange phenomenon whenever people post Elite videos, inevitably people start comparing it to Star Citizen, and there's this thread that goes off. But I think that everybody wins if all the games are good.
Absolutely.
And that's what I want to see.
Exactly. I quite agree. And the other thing that we're seeing here is this is sort of, it's democratizing game design and gameplay. The point is that things like Kickstarter, but not just that, the fact that we're playing online means we can make games that we've had a period of perhaps 20 years where we couldn't make them because we have to convince publishers, and publishers have all sorts of different processes in place. That make things different. Even the original Elite, we found this problem. But bizarrely, there are a lot of games that could be made in the 80s because people were like me in the bedroom and we're cheap. In the sense we run on baked beans, and that's sort of come around full circle because of things like iOS.
Right, iOS and the whole Kickstarter. There's a lot of people doing little projects on their own. Especially with like the Unity engine, a lot of people just push out a game. Game jams, another good example of very short, small
Well,
experiments.
we have it within Frontier. We have this right from the early days of Frontier, something called Game of the Week, where people put forward game design ideas, and actually, to be honest, we tend to pull them apart. You know, people in the games industry are hugely critical of every game, and including our own. You know, and any that can survive that must be pretty good.
Right.
You know, and Lost Winds is one that. You know, that has been through the process, and you know, with that sort of criticism. We also announced that that 2 more are coming. We haven't said what they are or anything, but 2 more have been through the Game of the Week process,
and they're now going
to be coming out. And I'm very excited about that. And it vindicates the process. You know, it makes it.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed actually about Frontier's output is you tend to pick up on interesting technology early on. I mean, you know, obviously Oculus Rift is the example of this stuff, but I mean, previously you were one of the launch titles for Kinect,
That's
right? And you produced a title for the 32X.
Oh
yes, I know they're not. But the one that really gets me, and you produced the very first game for the Acorn Archimedes, right? Zarch,
right.
Which is also, by definition, the first game written for the ARM processor, which is in every single cell phone these days. So billions of devices. First game goes back to this guy.
Well, I have one of the first 20 ARMs ever made. One of the few ARM ones.
Yeah, see, I'm sorry, I have such a
prototypes.
I know the whole processor architectures and everything are all. But yeah, and of course you
and Xbox One launch title was your title.
That's right, Xbox One, which I don't actually own, but not enough spaceship games for it yet. But yeah, I mean, you're so Elite's going to be 30 years old this September.
That's right.
Is that when you're aiming for the actual release of Dangerous?
I couldn't possibly comment, but it might be a nice day to go.
It might be a nice day. We've had the 20th anniversary of Frontier earlier this year, so...
That's right. And my 50th anniversary. I'm now 50.
Oh, wow, congratulations.
So it's a big year this year.
I feel so young.
Round numbers.
Not a lot of round. Alpha 4, what's it going to bring us?
So, travel and trading.
Ooh.
Yes.
So you'll be able to... so right now you can get the cargo if you can scoop it up and sell it. Now you'll be able to buy it from the station and travel to other stations.
I think the other thing is we've only got a limited number of locations that you can visit.
Yes.
They're essentially sort of preset scenarios where
right,
you get to experience different elements of the game.
Right, you had the 4 scenarios in your hyperspace between them.
Yeah, and now we've added the station to it, so there's sort of 5.
And everybody crashes in there now because there's so many people in there right now. Apparently, everybody's doing mad dashes for the.
Well, I saw that was lovely on your video. That was the thing with the guy who nipped in front of you.
I know.
That was perfectly timed.
I had to cut so many failed attempts out of that to make it watchable. But it's great the way that's going.
Oh, and of course, things like the map we're moving forward on. So seeing the night sky.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah. What I was going to say is, you've got this large procedural universe, right?
Yeah.
And in Frontier 2, you would jump into a system and you would have to accelerate using Newtonian mechanics to get to the target. Now, you had time acceleration there to actually get between them. You're not going to do that anymore because it doesn't make sense in a multiplayer game.
That's right. We have this super cruise thing there that we've talked about.
So it's like warp drive light?
Yes, it's the ability to travel round at very high speed.
Much faster than light speed.
Yes. Well, actually, the system, yes, you're right, that sort of order. And that's something that we're going to tune during the alpha and the beta anyway, to get it right so it feels right. But it's so that, because one of the other things is making sure people can come together easily, and that's another thing that will help.
Right, so there'll be some way to bring people through the same area so that there can still be piracy and conflict generated in the game.
Yeah. And you'll be able to see other players in Super Cruise so that you can go and...
Oh, great. And so will Super Cruise have another awesome sound effect? Because I must commend this game on its sound design so far. It is jaw-dropping.
Well, to give the guys at Frontier have done a really good job.
Yes, they have.
Led by Jim Croft. A lot of people have worked hard on it. It's really good, and I think sound is often
it's missing.
It gets forgotten a lot.
Sometimes it's overlooked.
Yeah, exactly. And so we support the full surround sound, all of that, and it's the richness of the sound that I think is really nice as well.
Yeah, the depth. I mean, nobody really has headphones big enough for some of these sounds, I think.
No, people need to play it on a proper 5.1 or 7.1 system with a decent subwoofer. And then
Yeah, I mean that the hyperdrive sound. I don't think any visuals you can put in now will match this audible effect.
We're going to try.
You're going to try, and that's important. That's awesome. I'm using the word awesome far too much. And I just got to point out they handed me these little elite badges, by the way, which I will have to. Ooh, you are elite. I never actually managed to get to elite in the original game. I got moved on to other things. So yeah, Alpha 4 is going to add trading in the full universe, and you know that you are having a procedural galaxy, right?
Yes.
You're aiming for 100 billion stars, roughly.
Star systems.
Star systems.
Yeah.
Which the binary is and whatever.
Yeah. So we've got something. I think it's 160 plus thousand systems that are real.
Yeah.
And then
are these based off of the Harparcos catalogue or something?
Well, various merging of various, because actually there are some as well as mismatches, so we've had to sort them out.
Yes,
so that's essentially every visible star in the night sky, and a few that you can't see, but you can see with telescopes, are in there.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, we have mass densities and things like that.
And you model the formation.
Within that, we work out the balance according to the same sort of distribution.
So
as best we can.
Yeah, it's like, you know, Frontier had it, but it was largely a two-dimensional.
I did something wrong with that. I think I compressed it to a plane, which was wrong. So
we're not doing that here. Still amazing, but you could never get everywhere because of the
getting it right in terms of how you go around, navigate around it is much more of a challenge. And it's so big.
Yeah, have you looked at Space Engine, how they do it? It is, you know, a jaw-dropping experience. I totally recommend it.
Okay, I will do.
They don't just do our solar system; they go out to every single our galaxy. They go out to other galaxies.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it is something worth looking at.
Well, one of the things that I will say, I think the night sky for me is great. So the night sky will change. At Earth, it will be like ours. Go a little distance, it will be almost the same. And you'll see it change.
So if you travel towards, you know, Betelgeuse, you will start to see the other stars in Orion move out of place.
That's right. But for me, what I think is the most important thing is from the sun, dust hides most of the galaxy.
Yes.
Because we're reasonably close to the galactic plane. But Ashenar, for example, where the head of the Empire, is actually quite a long way out of the galactic plane. I think it's 100 and something light years, and you should be able to see the galaxy much better.
Slightly from above.
So it's a bit like we're in the cloud layer. It's poking above the clouds. So think how great the night sky is.
And will you actually be able to get out to this distance? Because in the original Frontier, you had this huge galaxy, but because of the 1 year maintenance period, you could never really get there without cheating. You could get anywhere if you cheated.
You could, because there were things you could do to extend the maintenance period dramatically.
Oh, I could never figure out how to do that without a spaceport.
Oh, okay. So you're doing the bug.
Well, so what I would do was the original distance was.
Sorry, I should mention bugs.
No, I
did fix it.
In Frontier, the distance, the jump distance was stored in a 16-bit integer.
That's right.
And you could jump just over 6,000 light years, 65. Yeah, I figured that out.
No, there was an embarrassing bug in I think it was the PC version, where it didn't get the calculation quite right. So if it was right on the boundary, it would.
Yeah, you could. It would.
Anyway, moving swiftly on.
Moving swiftly on. I was quite happy to exploit that.
I think the real. I love the idea of exploration. I think a lot of the people on the forums love it.
Is it going to be like a core mechanic? Will there be?
I think it will. I think what will happen is people will start playing the game and look at pirating and all that sort of thing. But it's be one of those things where I love the idea of just heading out into the unknown and getting a really big ship and just filling it with everything that I need, tooling up for it.
Yeah.
And maybe doing it as a cooperative thing where other people can help bring out goods to
create
help
your own little Battlestar Galactica convoy out into the unknown.
But I think that to go to unexplored systems, because they will be tagged as unexplored, even though the game theoretically knows what's there, so there's stuff to find. But I think we need to make sure that there are things you can do so that that's not a barrier to you. I think it should be hard, but not impossible.
Yeah.
So you have to buy lots of supplies. So it's a bit like these people who sail around the world and they fill their boats with baked beans and other stuff. You just think, is that really such a good thing, living off baked beans?
Oh, well, yes, not good for the people around you in a very small, cramped.
Maybe that's okay if you're crossing the ocean.
Yeah, when you're solo, it's okay. And you're going to have all the original ships at some point?
We'll certainly. Well, the first release we'll have 25 ships, and I think there are quite a few of the key ships from Elite and from Frontier in there. Things like the Eagles there, the Cobra, and the Anaconda, and there are some others.
And there's some capital ships which won't be flyable by players.
Yes. So you've seen some of the capital ships already.
Right.
There will be large ships that you can get. So if you look at the docking bay, you fly through that in a Sidewinder or a Cobra, it easily fits. It's huge.
And you can see Anacondas parked out there as well.
The Anaconda just fits. And there will be ones that are even bigger that we haven't announced yet. That there's a wonderful thing in real life. The Panama Canal is actually quite restrictive. So there's something called a Panamax, which is a type of ship that is, I think it's 6 inches. It's astonishingly close to the width. By the locks in the Panama Canal dictate the size of the ship. So it's almost like you take a balloon and inflate it inside the dock. That is the shape of the ship. They're not terribly hydrodynamic, but you've got the bow, then a dead straight line, and then the stern, and they just fit. So I think the docking bay, which is a standardised thing, by the way, will determine the size of the biggest ships. And so there are ships that will just fit.
And so you've got the current, the classic Coriolis station. Will you have the dodecahedron versions of those that were?
We'll certainly have the one from Frontier, shaped like a steering wheel.
Right.
Yeah. And there are others too. In terms of the different designs for the ships, I'm not certain about the dodecahedron. We haven't decided already. But I think there has to be a range because we've also got. I don't know if you saw the cover of Edge magazine.
Not yet.
Okay. Where the beauty with that, and that's one of the things that we have planned, where ultimately, probably not at the first release of the game, that players can buy essentially an inflatable space station. Now that sounds bonkers.
They're doing it for real.
Well, yes. But this is different, because it's not, this is where you would buy something that's essentially a box that just fits in one of the biggest ships. Completely fills your cargo bay. You take it out and you attach it to a very specific asteroid or type with the right minerals in it.
Right.
It melts it and then inflates it. And then it cools, and then you've got a space station.
And we'll be able to tow the asteroid to where you need.
I would guess so. It'd be a big thing to tow
around.
You
can. Well, we're already thinking about it. NASA's already thinking about towing asteroids around.
Well, indeed. I think it's the amount of energy involved. But I think, given that we've actually already said that energy is very, very cheap, and that comes out of the fact that if you just think of the energy consumption of these ships being thrown around, hundreds of tons, that you've got very, very big power plants that can generate hundreds of megawatts.
And generate a lot of that in heat as well for the stealth mechanic.
That's well spotted, yeah.
I really like the little fins or whatever, the buoy bays that open up. I kind of want to see that from a third person right now.
I know. It's one of the things that I think having. You really want a third-person camera just to show off the niceness of that.
Yeah, I kind of want to be able to look over my shoulder and see it. It's kind of hard to do that right now.
Well, that's true actually, but with headsets like the Oculus Rift,
yes. I am very much waiting for one of these.
Yeah.
waiting for the production version.
I think one of the things that you can see, one of the great things of PC gaming is the ability of all sorts of different things, and because we've got our own tech, it's very easy to embrace them early.
Yeah.
So I think, and it's not just Oculus Rift, there are a lot of other headsets coming through that I think are very exciting. And so I think it's one of the things that we will see. And what I love about the games business is every year we've had dramatic changes. This year we've got so many things coming through that we know about now, and I'm sure there are a lot more things in the pipeline.
Well, okay. Well, with that point, I think you've really brought this full circle back from the early days to what the current generation of PC stuff is doing, and I am just absolutely dumbfounded by how amazing Elite is looking. And yeah, I was suspect. I was but I was concerned for a while because I paid all this money for the Kickstarter, and then I heard nothing. And then the first alpha came out, and it was just stunning. And so, I'm really glad to see this being so well under control. I'm so happy that you spent time and answered all these questions. David, you're one of my heroes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Fly safe.
Well, thanks for taking the time to do this.
Yes.